Are you searching for a deeper understanding of your faith?
Inspiring Philosophy is your go-to resource for exploring the rich tapestry of Christian thought.
From biblical archaeology to philosophy of mind, we dive into the topics that matter.
Our content bridges faith and understanding, offering insights into God's existence and the reliability of the New Testament.
Join a community where faith meets reason and discover the answers you've been seeking.
Inspiring Philosophy, where faith meets understanding.
All right, guys, quiet. It's 1 a.m. over here in the UK, so I'm not going to be screaming a lot.
So we have to do the screaming for you?
You can do all the screaming for me. I'll just make Eric do it.
I want Eric to do the screaming.
I'm the screamer.
Yeah.
That's what I'm known for.
Shh. Anyway, so I bet you're wondering why I called you all here.
Sure. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah.
Tell us why we're here.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Anyway, welcome, everyone. We have another exciting stream for you. I have, of course, the gang, Thanos, Eric, and Steven all back because a lot of drama has been happening online lately. And at first I was like, yeah, we probably shouldn't talk about it. And then I was like, no, we should probably talk about it because things are getting kind of crazy. So I'm going to update everyone. This is not me condemning anyone at this point. This is not me attacking anyone. What I'm doing here with this stream is it's a we report, you decide. And then we're going to go into a video of Robert Price talking about Apollonius and Paul, and apparently Paul mimicking Apollonius. We'll get to that. Okay. But before we get to that, I want to cover a lot of the drama that's been going on around on the internet lately and just sort of update Christians. Why? Well, we have conversations with these people a lot, and I think it's important for Christians to just sort of know what's been going on in the atheist sphere, I guess you could say. It's just so you guys can be made aware of what's going on with some infighting, some attacking, a lot of drama going on. And again, I'm not condemning anyone. I'm not going to pick a side, I guess would be the word. I don't know if that's the word for it, but just sort of cover some certain things. A lot's been going on behind the scenes as well that we all know about here, but we're not going to talk about that because it's not public yet, but more information is coming out. So yeah, let me just dive right into it unless you guys want to say anything.
No, I'm going to follow your lead on this one.
Dive away. I was just enamored with the fact that Stan was drinking Kool-Aid out of a pickle jar.
Well, he is a weirdo, so he's with Wisconsin. What do you expect from Diet Canada?
It's pink lemonade.
Diet Canada is weird. Anyway, okay, so many moons ago, when the Earth was young, Robert Price, the mythicist,
6,000 years ago, you mean?
6,000 years ago, just after God created Adam and Eve, he created Robert Price, and he has been around since then. So
he was actually the serpent in the garden.
He was the serpent in the garden.
Robert would probably think that's funny, actually.
So
he's the one that beguiled Eve.
listen, Eve, did God really say for you to eat that apple or not? I mean, come on, let's look at this from a sociological perspective, Eve. Here's my
You know,
Robert
there's
Price
probably a
impression.
parallel there. I'm sorry, keep going.
Eve, have you ever considered the Adapa myth before you take a bite of this apple? All right, so many years ago, Price was on several atheist channels talking about this, talking about that. He was all over Myth Vision, all over Gnostic Informant, History Valley, you name it. He was there. But Robert Price had a problem. He's a flaming conservative.
Yeah.
I mean, like, flaming conservative. I mean, like, your parents watching Fox News might go, well, we're not that guy kind of conservative. All right. Get what I mean? Like, very pro MAGA, pro conservative, pro Republican, and unapologetic about him. Okay, great. Well, you know, the atheist community was always sort of like most of them are going to be more liberal, progressive. Okay. Well, he decided one day, Robert Price, to go on Pine Creek's channel and really just tell people what he thought about everyone. I mean, like, I remember listening to it at the University of Arizona, invisibly going, I wouldn't say that. Like, I don't know about that. Like, I mean, it was like to caricature it. Like, just like, well, you see, Doug, what we used to do back in the 1930s is if we had a member who was of a gang, we would throw them in a river. And if they floated, it meant that, well, that they were guilty. But if they sunk, it meant they were innocent. I mean, stuff like, you know, like it was a little too far. And even Derek of Myth Vision, Gnostic Informant, everyone agreed he went too far. They didn't agree with his rhetoric. They didn't agree with what he was saying. But they were still like, yeah, but they liked him on his Bible stuff. Well, at the time, everyone agreed they're just not going to platform him anymore. Okay, fine. That's why we've not seen a lot of Robert Price around the internet. But then recently, we started seeing Robert Price show up again on Gnostic Informant, on Myth Vision. We were like, all right, I guess he's
A resurrection, if you will.
he resurrected. Yes,
Yeah.
he
Mythically,
came back from the dead.
like
mythically,
Osiris.
not literally. Mythically, not
No.
literally.
Yeah, the mythicist resurrected. And so we were like, okay, whatever. I mean, it's been a while. I don't see this as a problem. I'm sure people have moved on. Well, apparently it was a big deal. Stuff was happening behind the scenes. Some of the people in the atheist community, the leftist community, were upset and they were like, no, you shouldn't be platforming them. But Myth Vision and Gnostic Informant were like, well, we don't agree with his politics, but we still want to like talk to him about the Bible. I get where that's kind of coming from. It's not like Robert Price's MO is politics. Most of what he talks about is biblical stuff. And then he just had that political rant and people were like, yeah, maybe you should talk more about the Bible. I mean, so I sort of get where people are coming from. Like, we can have him on to talk about the Bible. Well, that upset people in the atheist or the progressive liberal community. And then I don't know, like a couple days ago, then Derek releases this video. So let me put this up here to start giving you sort of like the backstory. About a week ago or so, Myth Vision put this out. Okay. Myth Vision warning. Toxic people are trying to destroy careers. Now, I linked it below. We're not going to go through this. It's long. There's a lot of stuff here, but generally what Derek is sort of mad at is this individual here, Chrissy Hansen, who used to be a friend of mine. Haven't talked to them in years. Derek is saying that Hansen is behind the scenes emailing scholars trying to end careers. Again, we're reporting. I'm not taking sides. I'm reporting on what's going on, okay? Derek is saying that behind the scenes, Chrissy is emailing scholars and saying things like, you know, you shouldn't platform these people. You should excommunicate these people. They should not be doing scholarship. This has happened to Price. This is happening to other individuals. I saw some of this a couple of years ago and was a little alarmed. I saw some of this stuff sort of happening and I was like, yeah, that shouldn't be happening at all. We all know this happened to David Falk a couple years ago. He made sort of a crude comment and there was a bunch of emails. He got banned from SBL, all sorts of stuff that I think went too far, obviously. Misunderstood. Even Doug of Pine Creek came to David Falk's defense. It was like, actually, that's not what he meant. Could it have been worded better? Sure. But I don't think that he was being a sexist. Anyway, I digress. Okay, so back to the story. So Derek uploads this video saying he's done with the atheist community. He wants to platform Robert Price. He doesn't care. Okay, that just, it was like clockwork. We just started seeing people pick sides, and it's sort of like, are you on the woke side or are you on the right side? Like, that's kind of what happened. Okay, so it was like, these are labels they're giving each other. You're like the red pill, or you're politically right now. And the other side is like, well, you're woke, you're liberal, that kind of stuff. Okay. I'm not saying these are their chosen labels for their groups. I'm just saying this is sort of what's they're calling each other, the right and the woke, kind of like split. You have people like Neil of Gnostic Informant, Derek of Myth Vision, Jacob of History Valley saying, listen, we don't agree with Robert Price's politics, everything he says, but we still want to talk to him about the Bible. We should be able to platform him. He shouldn't get banned from reality or anything like that. The people on the other side going, no, this guy's a racist, he's a homophobe, yada yada yada, he should not be. So that's basically what happened, and it's not ending there. Then Matt Dillahunty started fighting with Gnostic Informant on Facebook, and Matt Dillahunty told Neil to call in to the line. And that went as you expected. When Matt Dillahunty has a mute button, he likes to use it. And Wednesday stuff really got crazy. Yeah. So that happened, but then right after that, Neil and Derek of Myth Vision stream on what the situation just happened. And this is Matt Dillahunty rage quits after inviting me on. And listen, a lot of stuff was said. I think not everything was accurate on either side, but a lot of stuff was said. Meanwhile, while that is going on, there's another stream going on, lesser known, on Captain Dadpool's channel about this is what, the people on the left, and here's what they're saying. And like everyone showed up for this. Like everyone. Like there are people coming in and out. Shannon Q was there for a while. I mean, oh boy. So a lot of people have sort of in the atheist community have definitely taken the sort of left side of this debate and have sort of said, no, we're done with Myth Vision and Gnostic Informant and Neil and, yada, 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 and Jacob Hansen and all this stuff. So there's a whole group of them in this stream. And I don't know about you guys, but boy, the religious language was coming through. Like I listened to some of this, not all of it, but it was like, we really want to save Myth Vision and Gnostic Informant from their evil right-wing grift or whatever. And I was like, okay, like you guys are not really helping. Like you guys are kind of proving their point, but that you guys can be religious is all I mean. But I mean, that's just generally what happened. So what is going on? Generally, there seems to be a split right now all over Robert Price. Hold on, let me get out of this. Should you platform him or not? Some of the people in the atheist community or identify with that label say, yes, we should be able to platform him. We should be able to bring him on, not talk about politics, but talk about Bible, history, stuff like that. The other side, which seems to be the majority of people at this point, is they're saying like, no, this stuff shouldn't be platformed. He's a evil racist, yada, yada, yada. We should just excommunicato him. That kind of stuff is what's going on. However, a lot more is going to come out. This is not going away. This is going to get bigger. Neil of Gnostic Informant has said publicly he's working on a video where he has a lot more information coming out on these people. I don't know what's in there. I don't know what's going to be said. I don't know how bad it's going to be or if it's going to be that bad. I don't know, but things are going to keep heating up. What should we do as Christians when something like this happens? This is a very, very good time to stop because I already see this temptation with a lot of Christians, and I wanted to jump on this first. I see a lot of temptation with Christians to start gloating, mocking, haha, look at them fighting, getting into this. I get my title a little clickbaity. I get it, but I wanted people to watch. What I really, really want to encourage people right now to do is to, as I told these guys, we need to be, as Jesus said, the city on a hill. Okay. Try to be there as this fighting is going on. listen. Don't like try to like jump in and take sides, because again, at the end of the day, all of us are sort of on the outside looking in, trying to go like, what's going on, guys? Are you okay? Does someone need to chat? If someone needs to talk, listen to them. Just try to see ways you can make better conversations with people currently involved in this kerfuffle. Can we work with them? Can we talk to them? I think this is a great opportunity to open avenues. As is, Stephen was just on History Valley the other day talking about Pauline authorship. That's the kind of stuff we want to try to utilize this for, to see how can we build bridges, how can we move forward. As you know, a couple months ago, Myth Vision and I had some fighting, and in all this, he called me and apologized, and I said, you know what, I was probably rude too. I apologize as well, and trying to patch up some things. That's what we kind of want to do. So don't try to encourage this. Try to see if there's any way we can build bridges, get people to work together. You're going to be seeing some more of this stuff happening, and I want you all to be aware so you know how to take the mature path in this and try to just be friendly, be Christ-like. Don't do dawa.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
No challenges to Mokabakala.
Yeah, so it's gonna happen. We're gonna see that in that video. Now Stick and Foreman uploads it. He's gonna be like,
Honestly, that's how they should just settle this.
That's how it is settled.
Listen, we're
Derek
right
versus somebody else and a Mubakala.
Mubahala. All right, I want Gnostic Informant and Neil on one side, and I want Matt Dillhunty and Ricky Brock on the other side. You guys do a Mubahala, okay? It's the only way we can settle this.
It's the only way. It's the only way out.
So any of you guys want to sort of comment on this whole spiel? Did I miss anything? There's a lot going on. Real quick, I just want to say one more thing is like there's a lot of fighting going on Twitter, for example. So let me put up this tab here. Again, everything I'm talking about is public. So like Captain Dadpole the other day said, I've deleted all the posts I've made over the last few days. It might go dark for a while. I stand by everything. But things have gotten insanely personal, and a lot of people are coming after me right now, but I have a life outside, which is fair. We all have lives. But then right after that, or just a couple hours ago, I was checking, and he's like, F it. I'm not going anywhere. You caved to the woke mob. Biot. I didn't say it. I modified it.
Good job. Hey, well done on that. Good job. Wow.
Biot. I've been doing this the entire time. You're the ones who demand that I pick sides. You're just mad that I didn't come. Yeah, you get the point. Okay. And then the Pokemon song apparently gave him strength. Is that the Pokemon song? I don't even know. But anyway, that's where we're sort of at. Okay. Yeah. So any of you guys want to add anything here? Anything I missed?
I think what you said was wise. I just looked up there's a proverb, Proverbs 26:17, like advising Christians. It says, this is the NIV, like one who grabs a stray dog by the ears. I'm not calling atheists here stray dogs. Is like someone who rushes into a quarrel not their own. Right? This ain't our fight. You know what I mean? We don't have to rush into it and pick a side. I know a lot of conservatives or Christians tend to be more on the conservative side politically, not always, and free speech. And I have my own opinions, and I personally, I wouldn't have like completely just deplatformed Price or whatever, but I guess he did say some pretty crazy stuff. But
I mean, people, I think he said some stuff he shouldn't have said, but I also think the other side turned it into much bigger than it needed to be. Yeah. I mean, I think that's what happened. Is it's like, he said some stuff, and then that caused a catalyst, and then other people got mad, and then other people got mad. It's just like one of those things. It's like snowball.
Well, I think Derek and Neil's point is that radical statements on the other end of the spectrum have been made by other people that are being platformed on those channels. So they're looking for consistency, not hypocrisy. Yeah. I think that's their argument, if I'm understanding it correctly.
Right. No, that's a good point. Their point, that's something I wanted to bring up and forgot. It's they have seen people on the left of this debate say things that are bad. Like, you see in Derek's video, for example, like things like, I'm anti-white. Haha, I'm just joking. Okay, like, you shouldn't be anti-white. That's racist. Like, that's just wrong and ridiculous. But I mean, people on that side can say things, and it's okay for them to get away with it. But if Robert Price says some things, or people platform him, they're somehow associated with all this racist and political view nonsense. I mean, it's like, That's a little extreme. I think that, as you said, Stephen, I think you're right. They just want consistency.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, they've definitely, there's been some things that have been said about people's appearance and all kinds of other things on the other side, and so yeah, it's just a lot of finger pointing, and it's pretty crazy, but yeah.
Yeah. I really,
Wild
yeah,
stuff.
just two things from my end. I'm just going to say is don't take this as an opportunity to advance your social or social politics or your fiscal politics or anything like that. We are the kingdom of God, not the kingdom of Republicans or Democrats. And the second one would be what Mike said. Basically, don't get involved. This is between them, and don't go out celebrating or making fun of people. And if you see atheists on either side of this debate being like hurt, and you can tell that they're in need of a friend or something like that, extend out that hand, even if you guys disagree with them. Be somebody that they can come to in their time of need.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. I think scripture speaks to this, that as much as lies within you, live peaceably with all. And sometimes it's not possible. And that's probably what will happen in some circumstances with people. I think all of us would say that we've had friendly conversations with people on both sides of the argument. I mean, I look at guys in one video, I've done videos with them. They've been on my channel. I've been on their channel. We've had good discussions on both sides. Like you just said, even just this week, or last week, excuse me, I was on, History Valley. I'm going to be on Neil's channel on Saturday.
Nice.
So, I mean, Kip Davis and I have done work together. Derek and I have done work together. I've debated Robert Price. I've been on 2 platforms with him. He's always been nice to me. He's always checked in on my family. I don't agree with everything he says either. I mean, so we've had encounters. All 4 of us have had encounters with people that are on both sides of this debate. And, I have respect for some of them. Some of them it's hard to have respect for. But at the end of the day, our job is to live peaceably with all if it is in our power to do so. If they choose war, well, what do you do? You hit the block button. That's all you can do.
Yeah. My mentality has always been, if you're nice to me, I'll be nice to you. If you're mean to me, I'm going to push back. Like, if you're going to come after me and I see it as worthy to respond to, I'm going to match the energy. And I'd prefer that everyone sort of gets along and we have great conversations. And I hope this is an opportunity to sort of build bridges with people that have in that community, because it seems like for a while there's been a lot of heat, a lot of drama. And I'm hoping that maybe somehow something good comes out of this and that starts to go away. And we start to say, hey, we can all be nice to each other, even though we disagree on certain things. Like, that's what I want to see Christians trying to use opportunities like this to make. Don't use this to burn down and destroy. Use this to build up if you can. I wanted to update everyone on what's sort of going on in this sphere.
I think some of us have seen, because we have interacted in these circles, some of the nastiness on a particular side. And so we're not entirely surprised either, though. Like I'm trying to say that it's generally and almost overly annoyingly vague as I can, but I've seen certain behavior from some of the individuals on that. And it's just like, and Stephen, you've been on the brunt of some of that stuff. And I'm not entirely shocked that this behavior probably should have been called out on their side a long time ago. And it's kind of weird that it, how it's all come to fruition, but I totally get some of the frustration with the kind of mob mentality from certain.
Well, we've seen it.
We've
directed at us.
Yeah, and I think that's the point, because guys like Derek or Neil and others, I mean, they've reached out to some of us because they saw it happening toward us in some context that we didn't even know existed. But once it became personal to them, it was like an eye-opening experience. Like, oh man, if they do this to them, they do it to me, they do it to anybody. And so, we were able to reconcile some relationships here. I mean, I think all of us have been hard on some of these guys in videos we've done, and we've been able to do some little reconciling there too. And I think it's a good thing. I don't think it's a bad thing. This has brought out the worst in people, but it's also brought out some good too. So I think that this can, like you said, Michael, I think this can really open an opportunity for us to be that light on the hill, that city that shows forth the truth of the gospel. And I've seen positive effects of that already. I don't know what the Lord will do with those things, but my goal is just to be who I always have been. I'll be there for these guys. If they want to, anybody wants to call me, they can call me. I mean, they have access to me. If they want me on their channel, I'll be on their channel. I'm on people's channels I don't agree with all the time on major facets. And people on my channel I've taken criticism for having certain people, including people in these video clips that are problematic. I've had them on my channel just to show signs of peace. And of course, a couple of them backfired. But I mean, I did all I could do. I did all I could do to show grace. I mean, that's all
I've had Kip on my channel. I've had Derek on my channel, and I got along pretty good with both of them. Me and Kip talked about some Dead Sea Scroll stuff, stuff that's his expertise, even criticizing other apologists who are like overstating things,
overdoing it,
making corrections where corrections needed to be made. And I think, but yeah, I've had Derek.
He knows his stuff.
Fun discussion.
Oh yeah, I dude, Kip gets a lot of flack from our side, but like he's been nothing but kind to me.
Yeah,
like him and Josh Bowen, I consider them friends. We might disagree with each other in a lot of places, but like
they've
sharp never
guys.
mistreated me.
Yeah, they're sharp guys.
Yep.
So, all right, I'm gonna get to some of your super chats here because I've been rambling for a while. So, thank you, Joshua, for becoming a member. Much appreciated. IP in the back rooms. No, I'm in a hotel. It does kind of look like it from the. But it's
now that he said it, I can see it.
Mike, what's up behind you?
What? No, I'm in a hotel room in outside of London somewhere. Like there's like, I'm surprised how much farmland there is. It's like an hour outside of London. Like there's sheep like across the road. Like did not expect that. IP, where are you? Why is the room so yellow? I'm in London. I'm in a hotel room. It's 1:30 a.m. here. So as soon as we're done, I'm going to bed. Okay, because I gotta get up and I gotta debate Stephen Law.
Oh yeah.
This reminds me of the Atheist Wars on South Park. What? Oh crap! Oh yeah, that was like in there. The Cartman goes to the future and they're fighting over what should atheists call themselves. I remember that. Yeah, but this one's more interesting. Say that. One thing to do: pray for them to come to Christ. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. IP David Wood didn't answer this because he's a coward. So I'll ask you: did you think that God picked Judas to be the catalyst, or would Christ have been killed regardless? Yes and no. Since I'm a Molinist, I take a Molinist approach to this, and that, yeah, he was picked from God's middle knowledge, but that's just because Judas would have chosen evil regardless of what possible world would have happened. And I think, yeah, Jesus would have been killed regardless because of the depravity of humanity.
It's not metaphysically or logically necessary that Judas was the one. So it's like, it's not fated or determined, at least on our view.
Mm-hmm. You see, atheism is obviously false because there are so many different denominations.
They are splitting into denominations for sure.
IP, can you do a live stream responding to the Orthodox Muslim? And Dean responds if you could. I did one last week. I had David Wood and AP on my channel.
I think you just did. Yeah.
Yeah, I just did one. Boom. We took them apart on the Islamic dilemma. Which
I wonder, was it just Dean?
Yeah, Dean and someone else.
Yeah, they responded to me, and they're doing all this chest.
Oh, did they make another thumbnail when you're making you a clown? Because that's like your shtick.
I'm crying this time. Yeah.
They're so original. When it's like, oh, now we'll make him crying. Oh, now we'll dress him as a clown. Now we'll make him as a clown crying. Oh,
yeah. So let me address something super quick because
Eric's triggered.
I just want to because they've been saying some stuff, and I want to clarify because people have been asking me if it's okay. The reason why me and Orthodox Muslim have not had a discussion, and Dan is somewhat aware of this because he was.
Yeah, I was just going to say, is this the guy that we were?
Don't get too detailed, but
okay.
He was in. There were some things that I heard he was involved in, that I believe are good witnesses, where it would get him on a debate platform blacklist. I would say some behavior that he wasn't necessarily participate. He was. I don't know how to explain it. He was there. He seemed to be co-signing,
Bad man do bad things.
Bad man do bad thing, and so I'm not going to platform
Mm.
that. So
see.
I'm not going to give that a platform. So I'm just explaining it. That's what it'd be. So yeah.
Well, the Dawagandists tend to engage in all sorts of horrible things.
Sort of, yeah, shady behavior.
Yeah, I keep wanting to do more on Islam. I want to try to move towards doing more on that in the future. Also, what does this say about the rest of the participants, i.e., the Romans who tortured him and put him on the cross? Were they necessary? I think we answered this with the Judas
Yeah.
thing. Like, no, they're not necessary, but it's look up Molinism, God choosing from his middle knowledge, this kind of stuff. The myth vision glazing is crazy. Eggplant.
All right.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. Feel like we.
Derek is a
we
really
should-
good-looking guy, so if you glaze him, I don't really care. I get it.
He's a handsome individual. He lifts, bro.
Okay.
You hear that, Derek's wife? Coming after you.
Anyway, let's get on from the gays.
Cancel
love you
Mike.
I know. I love like. I remember one time atheists were like trying to cancel me, and I was like, "You do realize my audience would think that's based if you told them that." What are you gonna do? He also says, "I'm not trying to sound like a jerk in these questions. These are just personal questions I have as a Christian." Well, thank you for the super chat.
They're good questions.
Yeah, didn't come off like a jerk.
I just hope Derek of Myth Vision makes it. I am worried about him in all this. It looks like atheists are extremely legalistic. No love, no mercy, no kindness. It is awful.
Yeah.
Yeah, it can. I mean, there is a shift in the winds. I feel like away, like the paradigm seems to be moving more towards the right. So I don't know if I don't know. I didn't check the comments, but I suspect it's going to be kind of a mixed bag on this issue.
I hope everybody comes out of this with as least amount of pain as possible.
Mm-hmm. For sure. For sure.
I feel like the more atheists do embrace the aggressive deplatform you, cancel you, no mercy, no forgiveness kind of thing, it's going to have an effect where it pushes people away from finding atheism, or at least being so outspoken about their atheism, because they don't want to be associated with those bozos. Just like other people who say crazy, hateful things with Christianity, it's almost like it could become an embarrassment for us. It's like their side, but that side is even louder and more vocal.
I think it was Lawrence
increasingly growing.
I think it was Lawrence Krauss that said like progressives are the woke, or it's just as religious as Christians, just without forgiveness. And you kind of can see that sometimes, and that's like, we're going to cancel you, we're going to kick you out, and there's nothing you could do. Whereas like we're like, listen, yeah, we fight, but if you say, hey, I messed up, all right, yeah, we forgive you. Okay, it's like, yeah, we get it. It happens. We're human. Like, forgive, move on. You know, that's generally how I do it. Myth Vision, thank you for the super chat, guys. Seriously, I appreciate all of you granting such kindness and trying to build bridges rather than burn them down. Much love. That's what we try to do. That's what we're going to keep trying to do.
Christ gang.
Shut up, man. Freaking nerd.
Nerd.
Here we were looking cool, and then Than had to throw up his Christ gang symbols. Oh my gosh.
Get some of these.
Don't get arrested for a thought crime in the UK, bro. Hey, I'm trying.
Yeah, don't go silently praying by any abortion clinics.
Yeah, I will.
We laugh, but it's happened.
It is happening.
I made a joke like that when I finally got back into America. Like the moment we landed, I looked at my wife and I was like, freedom.
Oh boy. Okay, I fixed that. I have a gambling problem. Is it a sin to
What?
quit? Okay, first off, no. You should quit.
The other way. But it's the other way.
I feel like this is a troll comment.
It is. This is the guy that's always sending in like funny super chats, and then
As long as
saying
the
he
money
hates
is real.
Dude, the moment I said he says he does, like he always sends in super chat about how he doesn't like me, he literally just sent in one saying
Let's see here. I thought this stream was supposed to be a setup to cancel and deplatform Testify. It is. That's exactly. We're getting to that. Okay.
Don't. Now where's
That's
gonna
part 2.
I've said
Oh,
bad
my
things. I've said a lot of bad things about dentists. I'm a rabid anti-dentite. Sorry, that was
I was
they
going to
drove my
say
family out of Bayside. Anyway, go ahead, continue.
I was going to make a joke about vaccines, and I'm like, I better not say it. YouTube might think
Oh,
to be
God.
real. And then,
Please stop. Oh, man.
any idea why many Eastern Orthodox don't like natural theology? I've heard some reasons, but y'all likely know more. It's because it comes from Thomas Aquinas and Augustine. They don't like those guys.
No.
I don't know, honestly.
I haven't run into many EO people that don't like natural theology.
Richard Swinburne was EO.
Yeah,
He wasn't like
you-
the best example of an EO, though. I guess.
a lot of EO people that there's 2 categories of EO people that I've run into that do not like natural theology. It's the Barthians, so people really influenced by Karl Barth, or the new wave of ortho bros that are like more presuppositionalist in nature.
Which is also kind of strange considering.
Yep.
I don't understand.
And I'm not saying that presuppositionalism isn't natural theology. I'm just saying like that's my best guess. But I know a lot of EOs like a lot. Yeah, my favorite philosopher in the world is EO.
Sijuwati?
Sijuwati.
Swinburne.
Oh,
Well, Sijuwati's
No.
EO now.
I'm going to tell him you said that.
What?
I'm going to tell Sijuwati on you.
Oh, Sijuwati knows.
Sijuwati is just buff
Yeah.
Swinburne, basically.
I've told Josh to his face that he's just he's the buff black Swinburne 2.0.
Is it sinful to want to be a millionaire and cash out on a BMW M3 competition? All right, I'm moving on. I can't believe this nonsense. I don't like Than. Can you kick him off? Yeah, sure. Okay, there we go. You're welcome. That was for the super chat. Okay, just so you know. But
that's a cheap kickoff, man. Only a couple of
Yeah,
dollars.
man,
At
that's
least
all
50,
I'm worth to Mike.
At least $50 at least.
Yeah, I mean, if you want him off longer, you got to pay more. Okay, you can't be like,
Oh, you know what?
$2.79
Speaking of which,
fake
30
Canadian money.
30 pieces of silver, maybe.
speaking of how much I'm worth, by the way, the last live stream, people were asking how much for me to like shave my head. My wife said $500.
Wow. Okay.
Did
Did anybody give it?
No, I haven't
Yeah.
announced that yet. So now you guys
okay.
know.
Yeah, you're gonna be bald in a
Five-
few weeks.
Dan, they're gonna give that, and you're gonna be like, should have went
I don't
higher.
care. I'll shave my head.
Okay. All right.
I don't believe this shit. All right. Does atheism in lay people lead to hedonism or nihilism? I can imagine more intellectual atheists finding meaning in intellectual ideas. Honestly, you hit the nail on the head. I've been saying this for years. If you're
Yeah.
intellectual atheist, you can find meaning in being in academia, being an influencer, being in the media, Hollywood. If you're stocking shelves, if you're working in a factory, if you're a garbage man, you're basically going to go into hedonism and nihilism. You live for pleasure. There's no meaning. This is why we see with secularism, depression rates rise, suicide rates rise. It's a huge problem. And this is why one of the things I brought up in my debate with Lawrence Krauss from a couple months ago, like this is a huge problem that we need to think about, like what we're actually doing. Do we really want to be evangelizing for atheism? Look at the results. See my debate with Phil Zuckerman, my episode on Timcast, my debate with Lawrence Krauss. I've been pointing this out, screaming from the rooftops for years. Like, hey, secularism is not going to be the scientific, rational utopia you guys thought it was. It's going to lead to all sorts of issues. And this is one of them for sure.
Yeah, I'll just really quickly add in. I've been actually saying that a lot of atheists are closeted hedonists for a while now, specifically just because of how often it comes out in the discussions of the problem of evil. A lot of value assumptions get brought out when you start talking about that.
Mm-hmm. So Eric looks like he wants to go to it. Okay, let's move on.
Jeez, man.
I think it's only some of these, man. I'm just like, oh, let me read this one. Then halfway through, I'm like, nope, we're not doing this. I think it's only fair enough to call out Chrissy, considering she's been attacking scholars like David Falk and Michael Heiser for years. Yeah, and there's been
What has she said
again.
about Heiser?
Oh, she doesn't like Heiser.
Like his academic work, or has she said
Yes.
something bad about him personally?
I don't know. I don't know anything about that, but I know that she's been doing stuff behind the scenes to try to get people like deplatformed and excommunicated from academia and stuff. And I don't know how far the extent is, but I've heard from multiple different people the same reports. And so I'm like, it's a pretty interesting correlation I keep seeing coming up, which is, and again, watch Derek's video. Like the first minute, he has a clip of Chrissy saying, I'm just here to end people's careers. Now, some people have said she's joking. Not from what I've heard.
I don't know. In my engagements with Chrissy, he has always been a shady individual. Like, he joined my Patreon, so as soon as I announced that I had a Discord, I think he has a history of going through people's Discords looking for dirt. I think that's how some of the stuff came up with Falk, but I can't. I don't know that for certain. I'm just putting together my own little thoughts there, so don't blame Mike or Than or Steven for me saying this, but
Yeah,
I've just always found this
I don't have
a totally
I
shifty
don't have
individual.
Listen, we're sharing a platform, Mark. Everything you've ever said, we now endorse because we are on this together. That's how that is.
I'm just saying. I don't know, man. I don't know. And I mean, anybody who has like ACAB in their Twitter profile or used to, all cops are bastards, just is a weird individual to me right off the bat. I mean,
I don't
Yeah.
have
Well,
I don't have
my-
enough
my-
information.
My father was a state trooper for 25 years, and he was like he basically did truck inspections and inventory. Like he was not like rarely did like patrol stuff. He was one of the troopers though that went up when the Flight 93 crash happened in Pennsylvania on 9/11. He went up and he helped with that. Like, like it hurts when people say like all cops are like attack cops. It hurts me personally because my dad is a cop, and like this guy was like the most servant leader of any person I've ever known in my entire life. Like how dare you? Like how dare you just make that kind of attack? So yeah, I hate that kind of crap.
It's weird.
Yeah. Okay, we're moving on. Just gonna here is the first $5 for Bald Fan. No, Scarlett. It doesn't work like that. You got to give a nice
One
big.
time.
Five. I thought we were at 500. What happened?
Yes. Listen, it can't be a super chat either.
Oh.
It's got to come through the website because we don't get 100% of that donation. If you donate through the website, we get 100% of anything that comes through the website. So click the link below, donate, and you help us stay fully funded. Because, as I announced last month, donations have been low lately. So anyone who can help support us, we really, really appreciate it.
Yeah.
So you got to donate through the website.
Do we want to make it like you have to donate $500, or do we want to make it like people can donate and then they can leave a comment saying for Than's bald head?
No, I want one. If someone puts in a $500 donation, you can do it. We're not doing this. We're not doing a fundraiser thing. I want someone to drop it. That's the way it's got to work.
I'll do it too. I will shave my head. I'll take a video shaving my head and we'll post it on social media.
Mm-hmm. Thanks for the $20 super chat. IP last June, you're live with Trent Horn. I told you to celebrate the Islam and LGBTQI used another channel to bring stability. Now that we've learned of the men of Al Zut, am I a prophet? Also sub and get donations to IP. Yeah, much appreciated. Did you guys know, Eric, or no, Steven, do you know about the men of the...
Yeah.
Steven, do you know about the men of the Al Zut?
Mm-mm.
It's a wild ride, man. It's a wild ride.
No. We're reading it. We're reading it.
Okay.
All right, Steven, I'm just going to read you this, okay?
It's
All right.
crazier than any Diddy party.
Okay. I'm just going to read you. This is a real hadith. It's considered to be sound chain of narration. Okay. Abdullah ibn Masud related, the messenger of Allah sent for me, and we set out until I reached such and such a place. And he traced a line for me and told me, stay between the two edges of this. Don't go outside of it. If you go outside of it, it's over for you. Abdullah said. So I stayed there. Then the messenger of Allah went a stone's throw away, or a little further. Then Abdullah mentioned a group of male members who looked like Zut people. They didn't have any clothes on, and I didn't see their genitals, and they were tall and scrawny. And they came and started to ride the messenger of Allah. And the prophet of Allah began to recite to them. And they started to move closer and lean around me and get in my way. And I became intensely and terrified of them. So I sat down. And when the morning light broke, they began to go away. Then the messenger of Allah came back exhausted and in pain, or practically in pain, for how they had ridden him. He said, "Indeed, I am exhausted." Then the messenger of Allah put his head in my lap, or something like that. And the men came with tall white garments on. But the messenger of Allah had fallen asleep. And I became more intensely and terrified of them than I was the first time. So, Stephen, I'm just curious, since this is your first time hearing about the men of Al-Zut, what does that sound like?
Oh man, it sounds like I'm not going to sleep tonight. My God, what the hell is going on?
Why was he in pain? Does his
Because-
back hurt because people were like, he was giving them piggyback rides?
Yeah, they rode him all night. What do you think was going on? Dan, come on.
I don't think they were piggybacks, but okay. Wow,
Amen.
good stuff. All right,
I'm glad you learned something about the men
praise
of
the
Al-Zut.
Lord. Praise the Lord. All right.
Now, Muslims will say this is actually Muhammad meeting with the jinn, and riding is just slang terminology for crowding.
Oh,
And-
okay.
For what?
So why was he in pain? Getting crowded is
He was
okay.
being crowded. Yeah. I mean,
That makes
that's-
you-
Wait, have you ever
hurt?
been in a
That hurts
big
you?
crowd, Stephen? There's elbows being thrown.
Okay, but it's the elbow that's causing pain, not the crowd.
very pointy things in crowds can really hurt you, Stephen. Okay. Like elbows. Okay.
There's other funny
Um,
things in that story going on than elbows. but
man.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
It's
If you ever need a
hilarious.
laugh, just read through the Hadith. There's so many good ones, but that's probably the craziest one.
You know, I don't spend a lot of time in Islam, but it sounds like I made the right choice. I should just stick
Yeah.
to Gnostic.
I don't know how the word
theology.
crowding saves you from this interpretation, to be honest with you.
Oh, you know.
You could be
Obviously.
crowded by a bunch of men trying to. Never mind.
Well, that's
Uh,
probably why the dude sat down. Obviously, he was like, I need. To
That's
go."
evidence against the theory.
he didn't want to be ridden. I mean, crowded. That's why he sat down.
Yeah, don't crowd me sitting.
never gets old. Yeah.
Ugh.
I just love that the way they have to sort of like get around this is like posit supernatural beings. Like, oh no, it wasn't what it sounds like. It was demons.
Wait, doesn't it
guys.
say that he couldn't see their genitals though?
Mm-hmm. That's what they use. They say because they couldn't see them. These are like jinn, basically. But
So
this
they used
doesn't
other
help.
things.
In Islam, jinn can reproduce. They can copulate. So doesn't really fix the issue.
They eat too. I think they eat like dog
Mhm.
crap or something weird. I can't remember. I have to find the Hadith, but I remember it's like feces and bones and weird stuff. It's bizarre.
I'm about to Google something I'm gonna probably regret.
No, man. Please don't share your
Yeah.
your screen.
Make sure you
I'm
share
not gonna. I'm just
have,
gonna.
have
Dude,
safe search on.
do jinn have genitalia?
Oh my God.
All right. Anyway, I'm
don't-
moving on.
Don't share any of that.
In relation to the questions, my worst fear is hearing those dreadful words. I never knew you. It truly scares me. I guess that's why I ask. Well, you don't have to worry. If you profess that Jesus is Lord and believe that he died for your sins, as like Romans 10 says, you're fine. That's not
Do you-
talking about Christians.
Yeah, Giovanni.
Matthew 7.
If you have questions, because you've had a number of these where it seems like you maybe are dealing with some nagging kind of things, check out talkaboutdoubts.com or something like that. You can fill out a
Mhm.
form. You can talk one-on-one with somebody like over Zoom and just tell us what the doubts are, and we'll put you in contact with an expert. Dan and I work with Talk About Doubts. So does
So do I.
Steven.
Yeah.
Yep.
I just did one on Saturday.
Yep. So
Do you guys think cultural Christianity can substitute for genuine belief? Just behave like God exists without believing he does? No, I don't
No.
think it's going to work.
No.
And
No.
see my video, is Christianity harmful? Intrinsic religiosity is a very important aspect. You just can't have extrinsic religiosity. So people that are on the right that are trying to appeal to cultural Christianity to save us, like this Jordan Peterson kind of thing, it ain't going to work.
No.
Yeah.
No.
IP, how's the UK? It's lovely. I'm surprised at how green and there's so many farms. It's actually very pretty. I went for a walk and yeah, it's very, very, very lovely. I can see what C.S. Lewis was talking about now that I visited it. Than is a Matrix agent.
No, don't just stop.
Okay, this guy, I'm done reading his comments. Yeah. Thoughts on Philip Goff? I think he's pretty intelligent. I don't agree with everything he says.
I would say he's great with fine tuning, but I think when he starts talking about resurrection, he lets his
I actually want to talk
philosophical
to him
bias. He seems like a really interesting dude. I would love to talk to him, but yeah, like, and he's upfront that like, yeah, the way that I look at the resurrection is totally affected by my philosophy, because he looks at kind of like the fine tuning, and the problem of evil is like there's just a finite God with limited power, and so physical resurrections aren't really possible. And he's had conversations with like Lydia McGrew and William Lane Craig, and when I listen to like his explanations from to explain the biblical data, I'm like, man, this is rough. I wish, but I don't know how he's going to be able to be even open to a different view until he, I don't know, figures out another answer for the problem of evil, I guess. So,
yeah. Do you guys think Testify is saved? He's Pentecostal. They don't eat communion and they talk in tongues and they put baby oil on each other. That's what I heard you guys do at church. You guys just rub baby oil all over each other. Is that pretty much what goes on?
Yeah, that's what we anoint people with baby oil. That's exactly right.
Can I bring us back to this gin thing really quick?
Yes.
Oh God.
Okay. Just so I don't know how I got down this rabbit hole. Let me just read this. As for the unrelated question in the title header, the uncontested Shaykh al-Islam and true Imam al-Jalal al-Suyuti said this in his book on jinns. The truth is that it is possible for human beings and jinns to have intercourse, and al-Thalabi mentioned this in his tafsir, that this is the meaning of an Iblis, a partner in their human beings' wealth and children. So,
but what does it have to do with Muhammad giving them all piggyback rides?
Well, if they want to say it's jinn.
Yeah. He was just giving them piggyback rides. I don't
oh, piggyback rides. Yeah, of course.
Yeah. So
I was just confirming that jinn can have intercourse.
Just one jinn at a time, just giving them a ride. That's why he was so tired, Dan. That's the pain. I mean, come on.
Yeah. Oh, I found even weirder stuff, but never mind. I'm
okay. Oh, I sympathize with Judas because I don't think he did it to be evil. He wanted more proof and he paid the ultimate price. I just hope that when Christ descends in those days, he saved Judas. I don't think
that's what's... Yeah.
It's not. It's nowhere implied. It's nowhere implied in the text. It doesn't say that. It says he was taking money.
He was a thief.
Yeah.
He clearly had his eyes set on something, whether I think it was a plot of land, personally. And his covetous problem led to all the actions that he did, to the point where the devil had entered into him, and I mean, he became an instrument of Satan to perform the very thing that happened. So I think he got what he wanted, and once he got it, he threw the money back at the religious leaders, following the prophecy of Zechariah and Jeremiah together, because what he got was what he wanted, and when he got it, he realized he didn't really want it that badly because of the consequences of sin, which is the lesson of sin all the time. You can crave something and do all that you can and knock everybody over to get it. Once you get it, it's not going to satisfy you, and then he went out and hung himself.
Yeah,
that's
good. Said Satan entered his heart. I mean, that doesn't just happen. It was one day you wake up and Satan enters your heart because you just wanted more proof. You have to be yielding to Satan in order for him to get that much of a foothold to possess you, to betray the Savior. So
if you're a Gnostic, you do sympathize with Judas, because in the Gospel of Judas, he is not a villain, he's a victim. Jesus made a deal with him on the side that if he would betray him and do all this stuff, the others would not understand it, but he'd be promised all these great kingdoms of rulership in the afterlife. But remember, the Gnostic theology is Jesus is stuck in a body, he's got to get out. So to kill him was actually helping him. So yeah, I mean, if you're reading the Gospel of Judas, you're right. But if you're reading the four Gospels in our canon, then no, he was exactly as John beats up on him more than anybody. He makes sure to give you his feelings about Judas every time he comes up. And when he's not even talking about that Judas, he doesn't even call him by his other names. Judas not Iscariot, so just to make sure you know.
How do I become a priest? Also, IP, let's play Fortnite and do a Fortnite stream together. I don't do I've never played Fortnite ever once in my life. I read books. I don't have time to do a lot of video games.
It's a broad question. The priest, it depends
Once
where you are.
our Discord server is live for our Patreon supporters and normal supporters. Oh,
You want to
yeah, there you go.
advertise it right now? Yeah, go ahead.
So for any supporters, if you have not gotten an email with the link to the Discord server, email matt@inspiringphilosophy.com and he'll get you access. I think Matt said it was the $25 tier that gets you early access. And then I think next week sometime, possibly Matt can correct me if I'm wrong, is when we'll launch it to everybody. That's related to Fortnite as well, because if you want to play Fortnite with me, I will download Fortnite and play with you on the Discord server. I'm just not gonna be that good at it.
If you want access to the Discord server, go to Patreon, link below, donate, and you'll get access to that. Is that correct, Than? Did they donate?
Yes.
They'll get access.
Yeah, so you'll get directions when you join as well, and Matt will help. But the basic idea is once you get access, complete the onboarding process, and then there's gonna be a support tab where you can create a ticket and just say, "I'm a supporter." Matt will verify your email address, and then you'll be granted the special privilege of the VIP access and special privileges in the server.
So if you want to gain access to the Discord server with Than, and I'm supposed to show up sometimes, I've been told I have to. Sign up to donate, and you get that.
Yeah,
I'm
I'll
sure
be
there's
doing
all
lots
kinds
of
of
stuff in there with you guys.
all kinds of dirt you could probably find in there and stick it to you guys. Just kidding.
Imagine being a priest, the most boring life ever, sit in a church all day, stare at a wall. Yeah, that's all priests do. I mean, obviously. What else did they do? Nothing. Stare at walls. Okay. All right, let's get to this video. Okay, so before all this stuff went down with Myth Vision, Steven messaged me and he's like, "Hey, I want to respond to this video. It's on Myth Vision TV. Was Christianity built on a mistaken identity, Paul or Apollonius?" And Robert Price, who's back, was making the claim that there's correlations between Paul and Apollonius. And I was like, sure, yeah, well, let's do it. So that's what we lured you in with all the atheist updates and their fighting, and to teach you biblical aspects, biblical scholarship. So, we fooled you. Now you're here for the real stream. So let me get into this video here. This is on Myth Vision TV. I've linked it below. Hope I did. Hope I didn't forget. Pretty sure I did. Okay. Anyway, so link below. Yeah, I did. Good. All right. Let's get into this. And let me know when you guys want to stop, so you start yelling at me.
It's pretty short.
Crossover Maniac. Have you heard the theory that Paul was actually Apollonius of Tyana, and the parallels between them, like both encountering an altar to an unknown god?
The theory, the question that's asked to Price, is Paul really Apollonius of Tyana? Good God, I don't even know where to begin.
Yeah, I mean, there's so much that they say in here. So I mean,
don't think Price makes
this is just the beginning, though, isn't it? Or
yeah.
No, I think you were about to say, and I was going to agree with you, Mike. I don't think necessarily Price is like, yeah, I'm totally endorsing these. So we don't want to misrepresent Price, just to be clear, but it gets pretty wild.
Yeah, also, though this is easy to miss, the itinerary of Paul toward the end of Acts, he goes to this city and then that one and this one and that one, is the same as that of Apollonius. Now that could be a coincidence, but
do they mention the encountering the unknown god altar later on in the video too?
It's slightly later on. Yeah, this.
Okay. I'm just making sure we don't miss that, because I think
it's pretty short.
Okay. Do you guys want to stop here?
You honestly
could itinerary.
The itinerary stuff. I mean, just really quick, I'll say one thing about it is that he claims like Philippi, Thessalonica, Athens, Corinth. Yeah, that's the same as Apollonius, but Apollonius also went to Babylon and India and
a lot.
Spain and Ethiopia. And so what I was going to say is the only real overlap is that both men eventually hit Athens and Corinth, the two biggest ports of mainland Greece. It's like big whoop-de-doo. That's like saying like two modern evangelists, Billy Sunday and Billy Graham, are the same person because they both preached in New York and in Boston, right?
And their names are Billy.
Yeah, and their names are Billy. So to me, the whole overlap is like totally trivial given Greco-Roman
Yeah.
travel patterns.
I just
Mhm.
wanted to, Mike, if you're okay with it, I'll bring this up really quick.
Oh, you've slides, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So like, and if you just look into some of the scholarship on Philostratus's work in general, who wrote Apollonius of Tyana, like I have a quote here from Graham Anderson, who writes about Philostratus's work in general. He says Apollonius's travels reflect the canonic sites of rhetorical geography. And the basic idea is like this is actually serving like a rhetorical goal and a philosophical goal, and it's largely probably embellished and mythic rather than like the genre of what you find in Luke Acts as
Now
well.
they'll say that about Luke Acts. They'll say that's rhetorical. That's also following some sort of mythic trope or some sort of mythic pattern as well. Do we need to refer to Colin Hemmer's book another time? I mean,
Yeah, that's what I figured we would do because that's the expected retort. But Apollonius's book is actually pretty explicit even about the rhetorical and philosophical purposes, and all that kind of stuff. So
now let's keep in mind that this is after Paul. These
Correct.
Yeah.
narratives are after, even
225
after.
AD.
Yeah, right,
Yeah,
exactly.
really
Third
late.
century.
but Stephen, Paul didn't exist.
Well, of course. I mean, you're copying.
You can't
somebody that
date
didn't
Luke
exist.
Acts based off of a person's death that didn't exist. That's not against Robert Price, by the way. That
No,
would just
no.
be-
But even if Luke and Acts are second century, as they say, it still precedes these narratives.
Yeah.
This is why where do you start with half of this argument? Because you don't even know if you have to. Am I supposed to take this serious? And there are people that are serious. It's like, okay, wow. I mean, so we think that something that came 100 and plus years later has been mistaken with all the discussion about Paul, with all the church fathers that talk about Paul, with all the people who mention Paul who were actually acquainted with Paul. We're going to throw all them out, ignore all that content, personal letters about, statements about, acquaintances. We're going to throw all that out and say that somehow the Christian foundation got these two guys reversed. And
Yeah.
like,
I will
I've
also
given
just
up.
I will also just kind of say, like, for the people that are going to retort and say that Luke Acts's itinerary is theologically motivated or anything like that, and therefore made up or something like,
No.
My question is just going to be like, what is your evidence for that?
Right.
Oh, I know what they might try. So they might try to use like Dennis McDonald's stuff, for example. And I would refer everyone to this video that I did. Steve Reese has a good book. Now he's very harsh on McDonald. I mean, like, but he points out like one of the things Dennis McDonald tries to do is say that like, well, he's trying to tie it to Troy, like Paul's journeys to Troy. So he instead in Acts, he goes to Troas, and so, but Steve Reese, who has a background in classics in the New Testament, says this is nonsense. Troas does not show up as much as you think it does, and it's not in all of the sea journeys. He says Homer's Troy, a Bronze Age inland city, and Luke's Troas, a major Hellenistic and Roman seaport, widely known as Alexandria Troas, are not the same. This is one of McDonald's points. He tries to say they are the same. Reese says it may seem like a minor point, but Troas is more than a mere 10 miles from Troy. It is actually 15 as the crow flies, and it would have been more than that by land travel in antiquity. In fact, Troy and Troas were a full day's journey apart. Luke would not have been able to invoke the citadel of Homeric Troy in the minds of the ancient audience simply by mentioning the Hellenistic seaport of Alexandria Troas. And McDonald tries to say like all these passages refer to Troas, but they actually don't. He tries to connect a seaport to Adramanttium, like a ship that one of Luke and Paul get on is from Adramanttium, but McDonald appears to actually misidentify the seaport. It's not actually in the Troas. So attempts to sort of make this connected to some sort of mythic journey have actually failed a lot of ways. And no one has really dealt with Colin Hemmer's work, the undesigned coincidences that we've brought up between Acts and Paul's epistles, these kinds of stuff. So, a lot of hard issues to overcome, I feel here. But yeah, I just wanted to briefly mention that. But let's get back to the video here.
Paul is associated with an Apollonius in the Western texts of Acts. The other traditions have Apollos, but that's just short for Apollonius. And
Wait, what? Sorry.
Yeah, I got something on this too.
Well, he's talking about Apollos, who had to be pulled aside by Aquila and Priscilla, who only knew up to the baptism of John. That's what he's saying in Acts. It's got to be who he's referring to. There's nobody else. And then he's obviously referencing 1 Corinthians 1.
So the name Apollos comes up in a few places, and there's only one instance, by the way, in all our extant Greek manuscripts that I know of, where Apollos has been switched out with Apollonius, and that's in our Codex Bezae, which is 5th century, and that's it, to my knowledge. So it's it's philologically possible that Apollos and Apollonius could be related, but that's not going to prove identity at all.
Yeah, it's kind of a little bit of a jump. I'm not sure if he was making that connection, but
again, I'm not saying it's hard to know what Price is really saying or not here. So,
well, I think he's entertaining it.
Yeah.
Let's see, and both go to Corinth.
So do you think that they knew? You think whoever wrote?
Guys, the U.S. stormed the beaches in World War II, but they also went to Europe in World War I.
It's possible.
Gotta be the same.
It wasn't Corinth the central hub?
It was a pretty
one of the central hubs.
Yeah.
It was used for a lot of trade because Corinth was sort of on the strait. I don't know what the exact term for that is. And so because of the raging sea around the peninsula, people would offload goods around Corinth, transport them over land, put them back on boats because it was actually safer. So it was a major shipping trading hub, moving goods across the Aegean world.
Wrote the Apollonius tell or vice versa knew of each other in terms of these stories? Or do you think this is possibly in the air and it didn't require that?
I can feel it come. Sorry. Phil Collins just jumped in my head.
No way to tell, but there's so many similarities between the life of Apollonius and the various Gospels that Eusebius and others thought that Apollonius was based on the Gospels, but it doesn't read that way to me. It isn't that similar in the telling or the specifics that happened. So it's possible. But it seems to me there are one or two places where it looks like.
Go ahead.
Yeah, he made a claim here. This runner. Yeah. Okay, so Eusebius is not, again, based off of whatever I can gather, these are inferences I'm making. Maybe he's referencing something else, but in Eusebius's Against Heraclius, he's responding to somebody, right, who is trying to make parallels with Apollonius of Tyana against Jesus. And so Eusebius's first line is, "So then, my dear friend, you find worthy of no little admiration the parallel which, embellished with so many marvels, the author has drawn between the man of Tyana and our own Savior and Teacher." And in the end of section 1, he writes, "We may reasonably confine our attention for the present the history of Apollonius, because Heraclius, of all writers who have ever attacked us, stands alone in selecting Apollonius, as he has recently done, for the purpose of comparison and contrast with our Savior." In other words, Eusebius doesn't think that there's a parallel here. He is responding to somebody who's making parallels. So Price's original claim was that Eusebius thought something.
But notice who the parallels with, Dan. It's not with the character that was presented in the opening of this video. It's now with Christ. The parallels with him, not with Paul.
Yeah.
So this is where I got confused. This is where I threw my hands in the air and did this number right here. Like, what are we doing? Like, well, 1 minute it's the travels are the same and they seem to be in the same pattern, and then we're going to hear about a friend, Demas and Damas and all this other. And now all of a sudden we bring Eusebius into this. It's like, well, there was accusations of this, but Eusebius wasn't. And I'm glad you pulled that up on the screen. I was going to read it if you didn't. But his comparison that he was combating was somebody was trying to compare him to Jesus.
Yeah, exactly.
So what are we doing? Like, I don't understand this. Like, I want to cry. Like, please explain this to me like I'm 5. Where are we trying to connect the dots? Because one minute we were trying to connect it to Paul, and he'll go back to Paul. And I'm not saying that this is Dr. Price. I don't even know. I'm not even sure where Derek, I might need to ask him, like, where did you get this idea? Like, who are you responding to? Is there a certain scholar in mind?
No, there's someone sent in a question. Someone sent in a question.
Right. But where did that concept come from? Like, somebody just dream it up in a comment section like a guy did for Eric a minute ago? I mean, like, it paid $5 to ask this that was worthy enough to make the Dr. Price? I mean, what is happening?
It's amazing.
It's possible. But it seems to me there are 1 or 2 places where it looks like a gospel story. In one of the pastoral epistles, Paul says that one of his disciples or colleagues, Demas, left him and turned back at a certain point. Well, in the life of Apollonius, his big disciple is Damis, almost the same name, and he accompanies Apollonius to Rome where he's on trial, and he sends him back east, which is just what happens with Demas. And so there's another.
No. Yeah, I was gonna say, like, Damis is loyal. Like,
Yep.
he narrates Apollonius's travels.
Mhm.
Demas was like a Judas, basically, almost.
Yeah.
Like he
Yeah, I have the passage
Paul.
here.
Yeah.
For
So-
Demas, having loved the present world, has deserted me and has
Yeah.
gone to Thessalonica.
Yes, the word abandoned. He abandoned me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, unless you're gonna do the transvaluation weirdness or whatever, then you can make all this stuff up flexibly. But
But
like,
that's not east.
yeah, and well, in this one, well, whatever. I don't know.
East? I thought you said west.
It's all the opposite. It's like we'll make it an opposite world story. I don't know. That's what I'm
Yeah.
trying to say. But
Just
like then in the same passage, we're told about Onesiphorus, Priscilla, Aquila, Erastus, who I will maybe talk about later if we have time, as being a real person. Trophimus, Eubulus, Pudens, Linus, Claudia. Like, what parallels do those guys serve? Are they just like random extras? But like Demas has this special thing, like Paul, or even if you want to say they're fake Paul, they're not Pauline letters. Although Stephen and I will fight you if you want to say that. But like, he had lots of traveling companions with different names. Like, we're just gonna make stuff up because there's.
Did you guys know
similarity.
that Marvel actually made the character Thanos after my life?
That's
true.
It's all making sense
Thanos.
now. It makes sense. I mean, it's all coming together. But see, this is the thing. Like, Demas is an insignificant character that was just kind of in passing. I mean, he's listed in the book of Philemon, and he's only listed in 2 Timothy, which again is why I think it's ridiculous. We're going to throw one out. There's so many connections between those two. Don't get me started. I already did a whole episode on it on my own channel, and I did it even on the Atheist channel. So here's the reality. Demas is an insignificant character. In the writings about our contrary friend here, it is not the case. He is significant.
Yeah.
He would have been the equivalent to the fallout with Barnabas. Okay. Like something like that fallout, but there was a fallout. There's no fallout in this story. He was significant. He wrote down things. He was attributing things. He was giving record to things. He was a supporter. Demas was for a while, but he was a traitor. He left Paul high and dry at the very moment he needed him the most, at his death. So these things are like, similar doesn't mean same. I'm sick of saying that. Similar does not mean same.
Well, I mean, Stephen, this is one of the reasons we did the Civil War stream, or I did the Greek history stream. Were we mocking a little? Yes. Did it come across rude?
Why are you saying I did
Apologize.
this stream? I don't know what you're talking. I wasn't in any stream. What are you talking about? I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, wasn't that Dr.
That was Dr.
Menace McDick? What was the name?
Just because we look alike doesn't mean it was me, Mike. That's what we're talking about. Just because it looked like me doesn't mean it was me.
Well, the streams we did, were we mocking? Yeah, but we were so frustrated with this very kind of thing here. We were like, listen, this is what it looks like. I want you to see it all in
parody form so you understand where we're coming from when we say this, how easy it is to make patterns or invent patterns in anything you want. Like, please just look at it like this. Like, you can find a pattern in anything if you look hard enough. You can find a similarity in anything if you look hard enough.
Yeah, I'd like to share my screen. If you'll,
Okay, I'll get you. There you go.
So
Very nice.
like,
I love the slides. You really put a lot of work into this. I'm very
Yeah, well, tonight.
I put mine together like 15 minutes beforehand.
I was planning to read it because I wasn't planning to be as
slides.
fancy. So,
I have very fancy slides.
With that being said, I wasn't actually going to share it until we got into this because everybody else was sharing things. I was just going to read it. But I thought Samuel Sandmel said something interesting because he wrote about this is a long time ago journal, but he said, I think it was in the 80s, but he said something that was significant that he calls parallel mania, right? And he talks about, look at this. We might, for our purpose, define it as an extravagance among scholars, which first overdoes the supposed similarity in passages, then proceeds to describe source of derivation of an implying literary connection. That's what's happening here, flowing in an inevitable or a predetermined direction. Now, I'll stop sharing since you're ashamed of my slides. But what, like, is that not, and this is before all this, like that was written long before we're dealing with the issues that we're talking about now. It's almost prophetic. So I'm just kind of curious, all y'all.
I think you're parallelophobic. That's what you are, Steven.
Okay, well, I guess that'll get you.
I think you are just presupposing the Gospels are reliable because you are a Christian and can only think in dogma.
Yeah, that darn dogma. But like, what do we think? I mean, what do we think about what Samuel's saying there?
I agree.
Yeah, I would agree with it.
Yeah, very based. Plus, Samuel Sandmel is a good name too. But yeah,
Sandmel.
There is a lot.
I get a lot of disagreement here on that.
Yeah.
Odd little coincidence that might be more than a coincidence.
Okay. Mr. Monster asks, and I'm just
All right,
trying to,
that's it.
Going off my good friend Dragon.
Do you want to get to the next part or?
No, there is no next part. That was
should we do the altar of the unknown gods thing that he mentioned?
Oh, let's keep going. Yeah.
That's the best part.
Yeah. Eric's trying to get out of here. It's ridiculous.
That part's pretty rough.
I thought it was Mike trying to go to bed. What happened?
It's only 2 a.m.
Fine, kids.
Guys,
we're only an hour and 20 in.
I'm like 87 years old. I got to get to bed at like, I'm way up past my bedtime. I ate dinner.
You gotta be up early for a photo shoot. You get to put on your clown makeup for another Islamic thumbnail.
Dean response video.
They always got to dress up as clowns. Like they're obsessed with clowns. I'm starting to worry about them, how much they like clowns.
Going off my good friend Dragons in Genesis podcast, subscribe. Seriously, awesome friend of mine and ours. He's brought us the pear pie. I swear I haven't eaten since then. It's like giving me eternal non-starvation. I don't know if you can call it that. I'm filled to the brim and I don't need anything. Mr. Monster asked about reasons the Gospel of Thomas wasn't canonical. Not sure about the other question.
Partly it was guilt by association. It did claim to be the work of Thomas, and various books like epistles of Peter and James and so forth made it in under an apostolic name, even though there's no reason to think that it's authentic. They could have just taken the writer's word for it with Thomas.
Yeah.
But the reason...
That's what happened. Bunch of dumb idiots. They just, oh, sure, yeah, that one, no, we don't like that one. Like, what? Like, come on. He's a smarter man than that. And I've debated him on the 2nd century Gnostic texts, and he knows what he's talking about. This is what's so sad. It's like, do you really believe that's how the churches operated with these texts? That they just took in any apostolic name in one scene and then the other, they just flick their thumb at it. Like, I mean, come on. Like there were processes of looking at the text in its original provenance. I mean, it had to come from reliable sources. This is not anything that Tertullian didn't subject himself to. He talked about the process of receiving apostolic texts and rejecting those with names on them. Later in history, Athanasius did the same thing. Irenaeus talked about these things in short senses. I mean, this is something that has been brought up. I mean, even the Muratorian fragment went through great depths to bring out how they were looking at the true letters of Paul versus the forged letters of Paul and how they knew to distinguish those two things. They weren't just taking some names and rejecting others. The name had to go back to something of significance. And there was a universality to it as well. It wasn't just a single providence that received it and said, this is it, and then everybody else fought over it. These were universally received, some with dispute. The problem with Thomas, and I'm not even sure, I know we're trying to get to Mars Hill in a minute, but like when you get to the Gospel of Thomas, it cannot be traced any time in the apostolic age at any point. There's no reference to it prior to it. It is also a list of sayings. It's 114 sayings. I wrote a 22,000 word research paper to my doctoral work on the Gospel of Thomas. I got to know Thomas more than I cared to know him. And the thing is, like, it is a progressive gospel that takes and borrows from the four canonical gospels and redoes or reissues the way Jesus said it, or nuances the way Jesus said it. One little line, one little word, or rejects a certain line and replaces it with something else. It is very meticulous in its function, but it uses Matthew, it uses Mark, it uses Luke, and it uses John, and it recreates an already preconceived Gnostic idea that is no earlier than the earliest part of the 2nd century, and finds a way to put it into the 1st century gospel narratives as a copycat gospel. That's why the churches didn't receive it. That's why they never received it. And it was also limited to a single province. It was not universally received. It was even universally known. It's particularly in the areas of Egypt. It was particularly in the Coptic language, some in Greek, most of which is Coptic. And these were formatted there and rejected there very, very early by the North African bishops. It didn't even have to make it any further than that. It was rejected in the initial phase because everyone knew what was happening in these texts.
Well said. Well said.
The reason they didn't was that while there was nothing particularly embarrassing and unorthodox in James or 1st and 2nd Peter and so forth,
that's not a small detail.
Weird things.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I mean, how convenient. This has a bunch of unorthodox stuff in it, and this one doesn't. Doesn't that show you a common ground of origin? If it's a apostolic teaching, it's come from an apostolic school, whether it was an apostle or a friend of an apostle. If it's coming from an unorthodox, that means it's outside of the boundary of that apostolic school or the apostolic authority. I mean, that's it. I mean, he answered his own question, really, in that relation.
That, like references to the pre-existence of souls, to secret knowledge, to Encretite celibacy,
2nd century,
and some stuff that just sounded weird because they no longer understood certain liturgical language about baptism, for instance. It sounds very weird and spooky until you realize what the references were. They weren't uncommon in Christian lingo. And there's also Sabbatarianism in it. You got to keep the Sabbath, depending on how you interpret it. And so and guilt by association, I say, because there were groups that liked it. The Naascenes liked it. I think the Valentinians and the Manichaeans liked it. And that was enough for some folks to say, well, I don't want anything to do with that. But I just find it endlessly fascinating. I've
all of which is
from it
2nd
many
century.
times.
All of which is 2nd century. The Valentinius, these were combated. I mean, these were dealt with by Tertullian. These were dealt later by Irenaeus. These rise of the 130 to 150 Gnostic groups. I mean, I'm about to release in the next couple of days an article I wrote on 2nd Clement. It is clearly combating Valentinianism and other forms in that time of the about 130, 140 AD. This is a peak point where that became significant. And by the way, baptisms are weird in the apostolic side of things too. Just read Hippolytus of Rome. I mean, people are being baptized naked. I mean, this, like, even in the Orthodox side of this. But when you're looking at it from the 2nd century era, Dr. Price is answering the question in of itself. Everything he just said, the form of Sabbatarianism, which became a major point in the Orthodox Church. This is where the Epistle of Barnabas came from. The Epistle of Barnabas is pretty much saying, you who love these Judaism laws don't understand Judaism. And the Epistle of Barnabas is kind of weird. Like, it goes through, God was never forbidding, don't eat these animals. All these animals represented certain types of sins. So don't do these sins. It wasn't about eating the animals, about the sins associated with the animals. And then it talks about Sabbaths. I mean, even Justin the Martyr gets into some of this. What timeline is that? We're right back in the middle of the 2nd century again. We're right at that early to middle part of the 2nd century. Everything that Dr. Price just presented presents that 120, 150 AD era, which is exactly where the Gospel of Thomas is on the rise in its associations and corruptions in theology, which is exactly where the patristics are fighting against it at that same time. All post-apostolic era. Of course, it's not a part of the canon. Of course, it's not a part of the apostolic see. To the best of our knowledge, from the date we got from Jerome, John the Apostle died between 101 and 102. So this is post all apostles. Of course, it didn't make it into any of the canonical status, because everything he just said is mid 2nd century combat.
Yeah. Well said. You said it best.
Take you. Justin Nobody was talking to Truth, says, I hope Dr. Robert Price comes to be saved. No joke. Look, he's been saved from being saved. And I don't know if you can be saved any more than that, but thanks for worrying about him.
Thank you.
Let's see. I'm just making sure I caught. Did we get all your questions that I missed there, Mr. Monster? Oh, let's see. I understand the process you got going right now, all on your phone. You miss a lot of chats, I'm sure. I try not to, of course.
Did they cover anything else after this?
StreamYard.
No, we need to go backward to find the Mars Hill.
Here it is right here. I found it earlier. Here we go.
Apollonius of Tyana, and the parallels between them, like both encountering an altar to an unknown god.
So it comes from Derek. He mentions it in the question.
Okay.
They both encounter an altar to an unknown god.
So it wasn't Price saying that?
No, Price doesn't bring it up.
Okay.
So if you want to address it, go for it.
There we go. Okay, cool. So Paul encountering the altar, right? Men of Athens, I perceive that in every way you are very religious, for as I passed along and observed the objects of your worship, I found also an altar with this inscription, to the unknown God. What therefore you worship is unknown. This I proclaim to you. This is like a theological launching point, because then Paul starts probably talking to them about his Jewish monotheism versus their polytheism. You get the point. Here's the relevant excerpt from the Life of Apollonius 6:3. But our friend here admits that he is devoted to the goddess, and yet did not respond to his stepmother's guilty overtures, but went away in terror of the goddess herself, in case he were not on his guard against another's evil passions. In the mere aversion to any of the gods, such as Hippolytus entertained in regard to Aphrodite, I do not class as a form of sobriety, for it is a much greater proof of wisdom and sobriety to speak well of the gods, especially at Athens, where altars are set up in honor even of unknown gods. In other words, this is a comment made by Apollonius in praise of a young Egyptian named Timaeus, who had resisted the sexual advances of his stepmother and claimed pious devotion to Aphrodite. He's not encountering an altar. It's part of a narrative arc. The setting's in Egypt, not Athens.
Yep.
And he's not using it as a theological jumping point.
Yep.
So it's not the same.
One thing I want to address in this video, so I just want to play this section, and I just want to make a point here about parallelomania.
Hope I didn't miss too much, guys. My pear pie is made from manna from heaven, dragons in Genesis. You're not lying. We saw it glowing. In fact, eyewitness testimony here, ladies and gentlemen. We know that this is the true food of the gods.
Yeah, mouth witness testimony.
Yeah, this
Taste bud witness.
I think this came from paradise, somewhere in the garden. Paradise. Great point, Dr. Bob. And
how could you want to cancel this guy when he makes jokes like this? Come on, you can't cancel.
He's a funny guy that looks like Santa Claus. Who in the world wants to cancel him?
He's a grandpa, clearly.
Well, the one thing I want to say is look at how easy they were able to make parallels off the top of their heads with pears and paradise
It's an art
and
form.
trees. It is, but look how easy it is to do. How easy do you think it would be if you had 20 years and you could look at the Gospels and look at other Greco-Roman works and go, oh, look, I can find a parallel here. I can find a parallel here. This is what we mean when we say parallelomania. Like, it's so easy to do that. You could just do it without even thinking. Look at them go. They're so good at it with their puns and everything. I'm like, yeah, that doesn't mean that's what the gospel authors were doing. In reality, it just means that modern people are really good at finding parallels. We love patterns. We make them up all the time.
Yeah. It could have been the tree from the knowledge of good and evil, that could have been a pear where they got the pie ingredients.
It was a pomegranate, I heard.
Yeah.
I saw it on a commercial one time.
Thought it was a fish.
Pomegranate.
I'm never going to buy one again.
All right. Can we be certain the Gospels recorded 100% of Jesus's words?
Well, not 100%. I mean, the Gospels say they didn't even contain, the books could not contain 100% of Jesus's words. So maybe I'm misunderstanding this question here. I think the question means, can we be certain the Gospels record what it does record of Jesus is what Jesus said? I hope that's the question. That would make more sense.
Mm-hmm.
Do we need to answer that, or we just? I don't know.
I think you answered it pretty well. I mean, we don't, So.
Yeah, we don't need 100% certainty.
Right. Yeah. Who are they that Jesus is talking about in Matthew 7:22? So it's people that use
Lord,
the name
Lord.
of Jesus.
Yeah, Lord, have I not?
Oh,
I think that's Matthew 7:20. Is that
cultural Christians?
It's people that use the name of Jesus for gain. Like, think of cult leaders, people that claim they're from God and they just get multiple wives and they get a cult following and it's for their own personal gain and power. I think that's who he's talking about. It's people who use his name for selfish gain. It's not people who actually have said, forgive me, Lord, I'm a sinner. That's not those are not the people in view. So it's not Christians.
Instead, they're hanging out with the men of El Zut on the side.
Mm-hmm. The men of El Zut.
I think it's the tall, skinny guys that didn't have genitalia, but I don't know.
Hey, Than, promote the Discord again.
Yeah. Again, for anybody that wants to join our Discord server early, the Discord server is ready for the VIP tier of Patreon supporters, or if you donate $25 a month or more through the website, you'll also be given early access, and in it you'll have tons of really fun stuff. You'll get to game with us. You'll get special access to a few different things. I'll be posting scripts on there. You can get early access to some blog posts, all sorts of really fun stuff. So yeah, I would do that.
I think your merchandise store should have a Hawaiian shirt with Than's picture on the back.
Dude,
I mean, that's what I think.
Mm-hmm. I like it. We're gonna do it.
We're gonna do an IP calendar.
No,
remember that, Mike?
Oh God! Only if I get to be angry in all of the pictures.
Yeah, of course.
Okay, good.
I figured we'd take a picture of you like punching me or something too.
Oppression of thought in truth is evil. Some that do this are many different beliefs. Yet there are people within those structures that seek truth. Misvision and inspiring philosophy are more often than not try to seek truth. I appreciate that, Michael. Much appreciate the super chat and the kind words. Judas never believed. 64. Yet there are some of you who do not believe. For Jesus had known from the beginning which of them did not believe and who would betray him. Yeah, it's a good verse to bring up.
What is ZAR? Z-A-R. What is that?
That's like South African. It's like basically $2.
Oh,
it's not a. This guy looks like Santa if he had a meth addiction and did steroids with Than all day.
What? That's not very
Okay.
nice.
Man.
Well, he did
I-
look like Santa. That's the only.
I'll take the compliment, because if you think I look like I take steroids,
Like I said,
That's not nice.
Dr. Price is a super nice guy.
He's
I
a
mean,
really
I've
nice
always
guy.
gotten along with him very well. So
yeah.
Heard an argument that 1 Corinthians 11:14 hurt credibility of Paul's vision, since Jesus is later depicted as having long hair. Thoughts?
What?
So this is where Paul says men should have long hair.
I have to look it up.
Oh dear God.
It's I told you what it is. Men should keep their hair short. Basically, is what the verse is.
Oh, I've talked about this before. Do you want me to?
Since you're going to be shaving your head soon, please tell us about men's long hair. Go ahead.
Okay, so this is like my take on this is a little controversial, but I think that this passage about men having short hair is about Hippocratic biology. Like again, men had they used to think hair was a sex organ and hair would suck up the semen, so men would want to have not long hair up here because you want all the hair to go down here, so that way the semen goes to the woman, and women get pregnant because the semen goes up here. So you have long hair here to suck up all the semen. So Paul also connects this, by the way.
Can we go back to the men of El Zut? That was a little.
Paul also connects this with, because he says, and I say all these things because of the angels, probably referencing Genesis 6 with, angels having sex with women, beautiful women, all this other stuff. You get the point.
It sounds like some crazy Heiser stuff.
It is. It's in Reversing Hermon. That's where he talks about it.
I can share the paper with anybody that's interested in this too.
Did you accidentally say Reversing Hermon?
Hermon.
Anyway,
did I say it wrong?
I think the
it's a bad joke.
Another alternative opportunity of interpretation of that is that this is primarily dealing with head coverings in church, particularly in the holy scenes. If you're liturgical, or if you're a part of a liturgical, you'll understand the practice of this a little bit more as well. Things that are holy are covered, veiled, and I think that is also what's going on here as well. But that's just I don't want to get into 1 Corinthians 11. That's a long discussion.
Yeah. That's just my interpretation, and I don't think there's anything wrong with yours either.
It makes more sense than this idea that, Paul had some false vision of Jesus or something because of long hair. It's like, wait, what? Like, that's not even associated with Jesus's personal.
I don't think Paul is making some sort of moral claim here.
No.
Yeah.
No.
Old Testament shows God ordering violent killings, not just removing them peacefully. In Copen versus Razor debate, Copen admitted it's not all hyperbole. It's troubling me deeply. Dan, you have some books on this you can recommend.
So he's about to go grab them.
Me?
Yeah.
I'm
out of town. I don't have them.
I don't know
with me.
exactly where
Blood
they
and
are right
Fury.
now, but I'll just off the top of my head, Bloody, Brutal, and Barbaric, by William J. Webb and Gordon Ost is a really good one. I also highly recommend you read Flood and Fury by Matthew Lynch. Those are two good starting points. And if you're still struggling with these questions, Stephen, Eric, and I all volunteer to talk about doubts. If you want to talk to one of us specifically about this, I don't know where you're at with this one, Stephen, but this is what I mainly talk about with.
I would honestly defer to you on that. You are far, far more advanced in this, and you do a great job. I honestly, I can no offense to anybody else. I highly recommend Dan for that. I mean, he does a great job.
Probably later this month. I forgot to tell you this, Stan, but you and I will probably stream with a scholar on this later in June, just to let you know.
Cool.
Not a question. You're required.
You're required. Yes. Yeah. I told him. So yeah, we'll have more on this coming out. Check out those books. I don't know if I agree with Copan on this. I don't know. I don't know the context. So
Copan isn't my go-to on this stuff. Maybe Mike, if you want to, even I could probably make a video series on this at some point.
Yeah, we need to do that. I have a bunch of books I have to read on this.
Because I also incorporate philosophy of war into how I talk about this.
Would you consider making a video covering why we have the books of the Bible that we have, including the criterion of adoption of the books and Council of Nicaea and Trent? Yeah, well, the Council of Nicaea and Trent has nothing, or the Council of Nicaea has nothing to do with this. But yeah, we could do something.
The Trinity was invented at the Council of Nicaea, though. So
yes, for sure.
Well, I think it's worth addressing, because anytime I do a lecture on canonicity anywhere I go, I have to bring up Nicaea because of the myth.
Yeah.
So
Don't we have a video on that, Mike?
I did one back in December, top 10 myths about Constantine. I have a really old video on it. Yeah.
I have multiple podcast episodes on facts that you can go to. I think one of them is actually called The Myth of Nicaea or something like that. You can go back and find it. And talk about where it came from. Where did this idea come? We actually can trace where that myth came from. The only hint I'm going to give you is Voltaire. So we'll leave it at that.
Yeah.
I'm not surprised.
No, I mean, it really is. I'm just watch my episode. You'll see.
Will you ever do a video explaining authorship of the pastorals? Well, Testifies done a bunch of videos.
Yeah, I
on
was just
this.
going to say, Eric's
Yeah.
done a lot. So we could probably do our own videos on this, but
See,
Eric,
this-
So
Eric's great.
Steven's done some too, I'm sure.
I
especially on the
just
pastorals.
released one Sunday night on the
Really?
pastorals. Yep.
Steven,
And
you gotta send us that stuff in our group chat whenever you send it out.
I also was on History Valley in hostile territory of the comment section and did a whole presentation. And Michael, it was nicer than what I shared a minute ago. It was actually really cool pictures, background, and I went artsy on it.
Nice.
So I was also on History Valley presenting the pastorals, and I demonstrated research that I did on Philemon. And Eric, I think I was on your channel doing this. Was I on your channel at one time talking
I'm
about?
not sure.
data?
I know
We were
I
together.
I know I
somewhere.
picked your
don't-
brain on that. Yeah, I used you as a source before.
We've
on
been
this.
we've been
Yeah.
everywhere together. I don't know.
Did the church lose track of the author of Hebrews? It seems odd. We only have one anonymous book. Seems like it was added because it fits our theology.
Keyword: they didn't lose track of the author. They lost track of the potential writer. And I make a distinguishing difference between this. I actually did this in the same episode I was just referring to. You can have an author who is the author and writer. You can have an author who has a writer under dictation, like Tertius, Book of Romans. You can have an author who gives liberty to a writer to write something in his own style and language, and then he approves it. He is still the author of that work. So in the case of Hebrews, it would appear that you have the author and an independent writer who was approved by a greater. No one in the early church really doubted that Paul was the author figure of this letter. They were debating who was the writer and to what extent did he have liberty to write the book of Hebrews. And that's where you get ideas anywhere from, Luke is my champion. I think it's Luke. I think the language is so close to Acts and Luke. And then you have others that are Apollos and I think Aquila is one of the presented, Barnabas. There's so many names attached to it. But what was argued is who is the person under an authority who's writing this, which seems to be independent of the author's dictation, but simply under their approval. To me, it makes sense, somebody like Luke, because that's exactly how Luke and Acts were written. They were Luke's own words and research and background and skill level, but Paul had to have approved it for the churches to even have received it.
Mm-hmm. If the fathers use hearsay, contradicted on canon, and retroactively named anonymous gospels, why treat their claims as historically reliable at all?
They didn't. So
Yeah, that's kind
I was
of.
going to say, when did they?
Especially
they-
the whole retroactively naming the anonymous gospels thing.
magic pen.
Yeah. I mean, they contradicted sometimes on canon, but I mean, like those were minor. The core of
Minor,
the canon.
But
was
those are
already-
those are kind of probably being mainly theological differences where they're contradicting each other too, not historical.
Mhm.
The gospels were never contradicted.
Paul's letters,
Right.
Either.
Yeah.
In fact, Irenaeus said there was 4, no more, no less. The Muratorian fragment was clear on this. I mean, earlier writers, there was only 4 gospels used, never 3, never 5. So this was only true of a certain select books like 2nd Peter or 2nd and 3rd John or Jude or James. And there's provenance reasons for that I go through also in my other episodes. If you want to go to facts, you'll see my explanation of each individual book and why they were disputed.
Mhm. God bless you all. Thank you, Michael, for the generous super chat. Thank
thank you for helping me become a Christian through your work. Much appreciated. So glad to hear that for sure. That's always wonderful to hear.
amen.
In fact, I'm going to screenshot this one for sure. I came into the stream at a good time. First hearing about the words of the elves. Okay, well now I can't screenshot it, but I appreciate that.
Just screenshot the first half. Yeah.
Yeah. Anyone see the baptism debate between Ryan and Joe? I did not.
Wait, Joe Heschmeyer debate?
Yeah.
Is that what you're talking about? Oh, yeah. I thought it was a blowout, but just call me
I haven't
by it.
watched it.
Who won? Who won?
Oh, Heschmeyer. Oh, it wasn't even. It was over in a few minutes. It was terrible. But just call me bias. But yeah, Heschmeyer absolutely destroyed.
You biased papist.
That's what I do. That's why I'm here.
Yeah, I stay out of that stuff. So you'll never get my opinion.
I
on
stay
it.
out of it too. Yeah, I don't care. I don't care.
I did watch it though.
I didn't
so
watch
I'm
it.
not gonna
I
lie.
care.
mean,
Wasn't
I'm just
interested.
not gonna talk about it publicly.
Oh, I just don't care about.
I'm
that.
also friends with Joe, so if I were to talk bad about him, I get a phone call in 10 minutes. So
Oh, drop.
So just so you guys know, if you are in London and you're watching this, you can come see me tomorrow, June 3rd, at this church for a free event where I'll be doing a live Q&A. I'll be answering all your questions. So yeah, come see me there. I am here in London right now. That's why I look like I'm in the back rooms. I'm in a hotel room for anyone watching. And anything you guys want to promote or talk about before we close this out?
I'm good.
All right. Remember to donate, subscribe, click the
Yeah.
like button.
Remember,
Sure.
$500 and I'll shave my head.
There you go.
There we go. All right, guys. Stan and I will be live on this channel in 2 days. Wednesday, I'll still be in London. We're gonna be responding to a whiny atheist complaining about Joe Rogan going to church. It's an hilarious video.
I still need to
promise
watch
you.
that.
It is so funny. Yes, Joe Rogan used to be so intellectual and smart, and then he stopped thinking like me, and now he's dumb. That's the video, basically. But we'll have some fun.
by the way, just to clear something up, Wes told me personally that he is not the one that reported that. It was somebody in his Apologetics Canada group. It wasn't Wes. Wes, he keeps getting credit. He actually called Fox News out for that because they gave him credit for it. He's like, I didn't say that. He's like, that didn't come from me. It came from a colleague. So just to clarify, Wes isn't the one that reported that. So
Interesting.
That's about right.
throwing that out.
Yeah. All right. Interesting. I'll talk to you guys later. Yeah, we'll see you guys in 2 days on this channel. You made it to the end of this video, which means this message matters to you. If you want to see more content like this reaching people for Christ, you can help make it happen. Your support makes these videos possible. Click the link below and donate today. And if you want to go even deeper, consider joining our Patreon community. You'll get early access to videos, behind-the-scenes content, and a place to connect with others passionate about this mission.